Hello everybody, Josh12 back here again with another video, and I'm here with another top 5 list. Yes, it's that time of the week again, so let's get into this week's top 5 list. Now, of course, last time I gave you my top 5 worst MCU movies. This time I'm giving you my top 5 best Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Yes, these are the movies that I consider to be the best of the best, most phenomenal, amazing, greatest movies that Marvel Studios and Disney has given us. Now, of course, like my last top 5, I do have a specific criteria, which of course I will only be choosing movies that have come out through Marvel's Phase 1 and Phase 2, nothing from Phase 3 and of course beyond that, and of course I'll not be choosing any of the short films, any of the tie-ins, nothing that's television related, just specifically the movies that have been released theatrically through Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Marvel Studios and Disney's plans. But with that being said and done, of course with all my top 5s, it's subjective. It's my personal list, my personal thoughts. So of course, in the comment section below, let me know what your personal top 5 lists are of the best MCU movies. Now of course, with that being said and done, let's get down with this list. Coming in number 5 has to go to Captain America, First Avenger. Now, for me personally, Captain America is hands down right up there next to Wolverine and Spider-Man as my favorite Marvel superheroes of all time, or just my favorite superheroes in general. And I just love the character of Captain America, and I grew up in a specific generation that's been burnt by the Marvel Universe movies. They did the Captain America franchise and it was garbage. It was terrible, and I always felt like Captain America deserved a good venture into the live action portion of stuff, but we never really got that up until we got the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Marvel Studios and Disney started putting out movies towards an Avengers film. And of course, Captain America First Avenger just has a special place in my heart. It's a phenomenal movie. Of course, it's directed by the guy who directed The Rocketeer, which is also a phenomenal movie. It's a great period piece. It's a great throwback to early 40s and 50s comics. And of course, just an awesome, just well-rounded mythology and history of Captain America as a comic book character, his superhero-dom, and of course incorporating him into the Iron Man / Avengers universe, which is pretty much our world as we see it now. But with that being said and done, Avengers is really great, but the first Avenger is where it's at least in my personal opinion. I just have it really up there. And of course, the other real cool thing about the first Avenger that I really love is that it's a film for kids, it's a film for comic book fans, it's a film for superhero fans, depending specifics. But at the end of the day, the cool thing about the first Avenger is not only is it just meant for all those kind of variant people, but it's also really cool to see that when I went to go watch First Avenger in the theaters when it first came out, that it was a packed house, not only filled with the normal people you expect to see at a Disney movie or a superhero movie or a Marvel movie. It was grandparents and old people and veterans and people who lived through the era where Captain America was born in his comic book history, and how it was just really cool to see that, and how special that people who grew up in that era got to see their superhero brought to life for the first time in legitimacy. But with that being said and done, moving off that, going to number 4 on this list, has to go to the first Iron Man. Yes, Jon Favreau's first Iron Man movie. Of course, you have to give it up to Iron Man. It's personally one of my favorite superhero movies, and is, along with The Dark Knight, Chris Nolan's Dark Knight, is the template for what superhero and comic book movies thrive to be today, and of course is pretty much set the standard for the genre, so on and so forth, of course. But at the end of the day, Iron Man is just an awesome movie. It's phenomenal. The soundtrack is awesome. The music is awesome. The visual effects are phenomenal. Robert Downey Jr., up until that point, was kind of like a whatever actor. He kind of went into obscurity for a while. He went crazy. He went Michael Keaton nuts, and then he came back as Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, Iron Man, and then of course he's the Robert Downey Jr. we all know and love today. And of course, at its core, you can't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe without Iron Man. Iron Man started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He started Marvel Studios to a certain extent, and it's just a well-rounded, fun movie. And I love Jon Favreau. I love his movies, and I think he just directed an amazing superhero movie that's completely watchable. But with that being said, moving off of that, going to number 3 on this list, going to the top 3, has to start it off with Captain America the Winter Soldier. As I stated previously, Captain America is one of my favorite franchises, one of my favorite superhero characters, and Captain America Winter Soldier Like, first Avenger was great. It was awesome. It was good. Winter Soldier was epic. It completely blew it out of the water and escalated it to a whole nother level. It was just awesome, and it was like the first venture of Marvel movies post Avengers where we have an established universe and we have an established superhero, freaking pedigree. However, this was like the first movie, in my personal opinion, starting off the Marvel Cinematic Universe in films that can be more dramatic and can be other genres than just be, the typical superhero adventure fighting another bad guy in a colorful costume kind of a movie. It was a very serious spy dramatic movie, and the Russo brothers killed it. I mean, like, for a couple of directors that prior I had no knowledge of or any interest in, completely destroyed the movie in a great, big, awesome way. And of course, Chris Evans, he just gets better and better every single time he plays the character of Steve Rogers. He is Steve Rogers, the guy who pretty much was a part of the terrible Fantastic Four franchises, pretty much is the silver lining of the Avengers universe, which is freaking phenomenal. And the Winter Soldier, as it is just awesome. The storyline's amazing. From the comic books, it's amazing. The way they transitioned it to the movies was awesome, and how they incorporated stuff from the first Avenger and brought it back over here was just really great. The Russo brothers are just, they really hit the Marvel Cinematic Universe and brought it to a new level, and they got Robert Redford. Come on. Let's just give a big shout out and kudos to them. The freaking getting Robert Redford. Come on. They got Robert Redford in a freaking superhero comic book movie. That's fucking crazy as is. But as it stands, Winter Soldier is just hands down one of my favorite movies, and I just love watching it. With that being said and done, moving off of that, going to number 2 on this list. Now, the picks that I have for the number 2 slot and the number 1 slot were very difficult. They're very interchangeable to a certain degree, and for the most part, I actually like number 2, like my number 2 slot a little bit more than my number 1 slot, but I had to rearrange it for specific reasons. And of course, coming number 2 has to go to Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'm not, I don't shy away from the truth. Going into this movie, I had zero interest. I thought it was a garbage idea. I never really cared or even knew the Guardians of the Galaxy, characters and stories and comic books. And I just really thought it was a bad move for Disney and Marvel to take a chance on a freaking character and story and comic book series that had a freaking talking raccoon and a walking tree and some green chick and some asshole wearing a dumb costume and mask. I just thought it was stupid, but I completely eat my words since then. It's a phenomenal movie. James Gunn, for a director who I'm moderately, into, and I pretty much like majority of his movies, never really thought he was the most magnificent director of all time. And then he drops Guardians of the Galaxy, which is hands down one of the greatest superhero comic book movies of all time, which deserves, so much recognition from not only fans, but from film critics and critics alike in general. Guardians of the Galaxy, even though I never knew it and never cared about it, even though it kind of pissed me off that a lot of people like to pretend that they did know, even though they didn't know shit, it's still a freaking great movie, and I love it to death. It's hands down my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie and on a lot of levels, and it's the number 1 comic book / Marvel movie that I go back to watch more than any. Like, I even watched Guardians of the Galaxy as much as I watched The Dark Knight. It's almost like I almost watched that one a little bit more to a certain degree, but it's just an awesome ride. The soundtrack is just awesome. The actors are just great. James Gunn put a lot of love and appreciation to characters that really are completely like D-level superhero characters and made them A-listers, and it was really cool to see that happen, and I can't wait for the sequels. And oh man, Guardians of the Galaxy, I fucking love it. But with that being said and done, honorable mention time. Yes, it's been a while since I've done anything with my honorable mentions, but seeing as how we are on the best of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, let's put out some honorable mentions that did not get on this list, but do deserve to be on a list of awesomeness because they're pretty good movies, which have to go down to the first Thor movie, which I, for not being a big Thor fan, actually really appreciated and liked. I mean, it's actually a pretty awesome, epic movie, and Chris Hemsworth, he's pretty good as Thor, even though he's kind of a jughead and kind of depowered from time to time. He's a pretty cool Thor, and I like him. He's pretty badass. But with that being said, another honorable mention that did not get on this list has to go to Ant-Man. Paul Rudd, freaking kills it. Michael Douglas, like I said with the Robert Redford, they got Michael Douglas in a comic book movie. Kudos for them for doing that, and it's a fun, awesome ride. Yes, like everyone else, I would have loved to have seen Edgar Wright's Ant-Man, which is something we will never see, but I liked Peyton Reed's version of Ant-Man, and I can't wait for the sequels. But with that being said and done, let's get to my number one pick, the number one best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie of all time, at least my personal opinion, and it has to go to Marvel's Avengers. Avengers Assembled. God damn, did they freaking destroy it. I remember when the first Avengers came out, it was just giant. It was a giant, big, masterful movie. Joss Whedon hit it out of the park. He destroyed with that movie, and it was a gigantic win for comic book and superhero fans across the world, where we finally got recognition for freaking doing something good. Now, granted, we had nothing really to do with the film, but we finally got to see something as superhero and comic booky and geeky as the Avengers brought to life in a big studio Hollywood movie. I mean, it was phenomenal to see that, and everything about it is just great. I mean, the Hulk was done perfect, Thor was done awesome, Captain America was great, Iron Man was great, and it was just amazing to see how they came together and fought a little bit but became a team, and it wasn't cheesy. It was very classy and nice and beautiful, and Joss Whedon, oh my god, he just killed it. Granted, he kind of did the same exact thing with Avengers Age of Ultron, but that's pretty much something I've already talked about in my previous list. But with that being said and done, that's pretty much been my top 5 list. Now, granted, as I stated, I like Guardians a little bit more than Avengers, but there's no denial that if it wasn't for Avengers, there really wouldn't be the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because even though Iron Man started it all, Avengers was the big payoff for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and if that failed, then there would be no Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it succeeded in a big, gigantic, awesome way. And plus, it was the first team-up crossover superhero film of all time, and it's just one of the best. It's the best of the best, and it's a high bar that a lot of comic book movies, specifically from the MCU, don't really hit all the time, with the exception of Guardians and Winter Soldier. But at the end of the day, it's just an awesome movie that will stand the test of time and has been an amazing piece for our genre. But with that being said and done, this pretty much has been my top 5 list of the best MCU movies. Let me know what your personal list is and other movies that did not get on this list. Of course, just comment below. But with that being said, shameless plug time. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jonch12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Jonch12.